So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your day for the Salesforce Admins webinar, Best Practices for Rolling Out Einstein. I'm excited today to be joined by Jason Selvage, Director of Engineering at Salesforce, Mike Brogan, PMM. My name is Mike Gerhold. I am the Director of Admin Evangelism at Salesforce. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Gerhold. Of course, it wouldn't be a Salesforce Admins webinar without a forward-looking statement. So just a reminder that Salesforce is a publicly traded company and to please make all of your purchasing decisions based on current features and functionality. And of course, after this webinar, we'd love to stay connected with you. So connect with us. On Twitter, we are at Salesforce Admins, no I, and connect with other awesome admins using the hashtag AwesomeAdmin. On Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you can find our pages, Salesforce Admins, very easy. And of course, admin.salesforce.com, the one website you can start your day with every single day. So just a reminder, we usually get the question, is this webinar being recorded? Absolutely. So this webinar is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube page and the webinar recap page at bit.ly/rollouteinstein, just in case you missed anything or you'd like to rewatch it. Sometimes I do that. And of course, you'll have questions. I already have questions. Is this webinar being recorded? It is. So if you have questions like that, you can go to our admin webinar group. If you're not already logged into the Trailblazer community, you can go to bit.ly/admin webinar group. And make sure you pay attention to the capitals there. That bit.ly is very specific. You don't have to wait to the very end to ask your question. You can do it throughout the webinar, and our people will start answering them. Of course, stick around for the end when we can ask Mike and Jason the live Q&A on any of the questions that you have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike and Jason with today's agenda and more about Einstein.
Thanks so much, Mike. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Mike Brogan from the Sales Cloud product marketing team. And just a quick overview of the agenda for today's call. These are the key areas that we're going to focus on. We'll start off with just a quick overview of what Sales Cloud Einstein is, just to provide some context around the features and functionality that are part of Sales Cloud Einstein. And next, we'll move into determining your org readiness for Sales Cloud Einstein features. After that, we'll move into how to roll out Einstein and finish up with some resources and Q&A. So what is Sales Cloud Einstein? Before we go down a level to Sales Cloud Einstein, let's talk about Einstein overall for Salesforce. With Einstein, our focus is really building the world's smartest CRM by embedding AI into the CRM experience. So thinking about all the customer data that you have access to, plus AI capabilities built on the platform, that's really the formula for Einstein. So we're extending the Salesforce experience by making it smarter and adding in great new features to extend the user experience. So think about Einstein as an extension of the Salesforce experience that you already have today, and how can you enable your users to take advantage of AI very easily and look like rockstar admins because you're opening up this world of new capabilities to your users. So how does Einstein work? Now that we know what it is, how does Einstein actually work behind the scenes? And what we have at the top here is really just the classical approach to AI. So it's very resource intensive. There's creation of models, going through a continuous recalibration, and then figuring out how do I actually integrate this into my user experience. So it's time consuming, it's expensive, and there's a lot of heavy lifting, essentially to prepare for AI. So what we've tried to do is simplify that classical approach with Einstein and build things automatically for you in the back end. So you don't have to worry about creating a model and figuring out how to plug that into the user experience. It's part of the native Salesforce platform experience. So we'll focus on Sales Cloud today, but this is really Einstein overall and how it fits into to each of our clouds. So let's drill down now specifically to Sales Cloud. And again, it's our focus with Sales Cloud Einstein is making the experience better for your users. So what can we do to target specific use cases for to extend that experience and make it smarter, know what to focus on next. So these are some examples of key functionality with Sales Cloud Einstein, looking at things like pipeline trends and projections. What are the leads that I should be focusing on? How can I use things like lead scoring to focus on the highest value leads that are likely to convert? With opportunities, are my opportunities on track? And just what are the actions that I should be taking? So we think about this from the perspective of our consumer lives, and we're always getting recommendations, with our consumer apps of what should I be doing next? Who should I be connecting with on LinkedIn? What is something, that I might need a reminder about that there's so much going on, right? There's so much noise. How do I figure out what I should be focusing on next? So that's the type of functionality that we're providing with Sales Cloud Einstein. It's an extension of the Salesforce experience. And just to focus on some of the key features, we won't go into all the features of Sales Cloud Einstein. It's really just to set up what's available. Einstein Activity Capture is creating a foundation of data to leverage essentially email and calendar data that's unstructured, provide a way to eliminate the manual data entry with Activity Capture. So you can seamlessly integrate that data without having to require your users to enter records manually. With lead and opportunity scoring, like I mentioned just a minute ago, it's really about prioritizing the most important records. So with lead scoring, we can use machine learning, as with opportunity scoring, to figure out which leads I should be following up on as a sales rep and which opportunities might have some issues that I need to dig into to take action. And then with sales analytics, this is looking at overall trends and how can I leverage prepackaged best practices to look at all of my sales data at an aggregate level through a series of dashboards and reports. So now that we know what Sales Cloud Einstein is and some of the key features, from the perspective of users wanting to enable this functionality, it's really great functionality that's available, but how do you determine if your org is ready to turn on these features? Several of the features have key requirements that must be met in terms of having enough foundational data to deliver meaningful scores, to build that model. Are there enough leads? Have you converted enough leads? Do you have enough history to make a meaningful recommendation? So it can be complicated to determine if you're ready for any of the features, and we're trying to simplify that. And what we've done is we've actually built a tool specifically for you admins that allows you to determine if your org is ready for all the Sales Cloud Einstein features. So it's saving you time. And if your users want to turn on lead scoring, opportunity scoring, we have an easy way to determine if you have enough data or if there are some additional steps that you need to take to get ready for those features. So we've built what's called the Sales Cloud Einstein Readiness Assessor. And the assessor is available directly from setup, and you can also go to einsteinreadiness.salesforce.com as another path. And what I'd like to do is actually to show you what the assessor looks like, and we can walk through this together. So if you're logged into your orgs, you have another tab open. It's just a really simple process to run the assessor, and I'll walk you through that. You can follow along with me right here in the webinar. So this is my org that I'm logged into right now. As I mentioned, there's two different paths that you can follow. You can either go to einsteinreadiness.salesforce.com, which is what I have here, or if you want to look in setup, you can just search for the assessor and you'll get a link right over here in the setup node for the readiness assessor. So either way you go, you're going into the same place. It's just two different ways to get there. So I'm going to start over here where I'm logged into the assessor. And like I said, it's a single click to determine if I'm ready for specific features. So all I need to do is click on this button, and there we go. So right now, what's happening is the readiness assessor is looking at the data in my org and making sure that I meet key requirements. Do I have enough records? Have I converted enough leads? Do I meet those specific requirements for all the Sales Cloud Einstein features? So that's running for me. And again, I encourage you to go ahead and run that in your own orgs so you can see what the report looks like. What I'm going to do now is actually move over to the report itself. And just to save us a couple minutes, I pulled this up already in my email before the webinar. And this is an example of the readiness report. So what we're doing is we're looking at all the features that are available with Sales Cloud Einstein, things like lead scoring, activity capture, opportunity scoring, and we're evaluating the requirements for those specific features by, again, looking at what those requirements are and just ensuring that the minimum amount of data or any other requirements for the features have been met. If, for instance, in this case, opportunity insights and forecasting, for those features, I have action to take, we'll let you know what that action is so you can be ready to use those features as well. So let's just look at Einstein lead scoring specifically. So here I've gotten a green check mark. This lets me know the feature is ready to use. So we're providing some information on what the feature does. And we're saying there are 3 conditions that need to be met to enable Einstein lead scoring. It's really, again, just making sure that there's sufficient data available to provide lead scores. So in this case, we need to have at least 1,000 leads created in the last 6 months. And of those leads created in the last 6 months, we need to have at least 120 of those converted to either an account and contact or to account contact and opportunity. So we're providing those measures here, and we're letting you know, yes, you're good to go, you meet those requirements. So we do the same thing for the remaining features. But in the interest of time, what I'd like to do is actually turn it over to Jason now. And after we've run the assessor, we've got this report, how then can I enable this feature for my users? How do I go through that process of turning on lead scoring in my org now that I know I've met the requirements? And what are some of the best practices to follow from a setup standpoint? So Jason, it's all
thanks,
yours.
Mike. So, all right. So here's what you're going to do as an admin. Basically, you have. Let me just start off with this is a view of a typical sales rep's list of leads. So the core problem here is they have too many leads to call and they don't know which one to call first. They can't call everybody in the same day. So typically you'd go to your open leads that have been assigned to you. You look at which ones are currently open and most recently created. Maybe you have a different way to sort them. But I can't call everybody on the list. How do I decide who to call first? So what you do, instead of basing it on creation date or some other way to sort this, you go over to Einstein lead scoring. So you just have Sales Cloud Einstein installed in your org. You go search for Einstein, and then you get to this assisted setup page. There'll be an initial button here that you click to say get started, and it'll show you all of these different features. We're going to talk about setting up lead score today, and initial position is off, so we'll just go ahead and turn it on. You'll see this wizard here, and it'll just basically walk you through a welcome mat and introduction. But you're basically trying to configure lead scoring so that it's set up properly. I recommend that you sit together with the sales manager because together you guys will be able to come up with the best configuration possible. Or you may be the admin and the sales manager for your org. So first thing we have to decide is, and this is what Mike showed on that PDF form, was do you convert to a contact and an account, or at lead conversion time do you also create an opportunity? In this particular case, I'm going to select the second option, which is we create an opportunity at the time we convert leads to contacts and accounts. And then this particular field is new in summer 214, so you'll get it 218, so 2018. So you'll get this ability to exclude certain fields from your lead scoring model when it rolls out in June. So you're getting a little bit of an advanced version of what we're doing. But so basically, we recommend that you include all of your fields inside a lead scoring model. And some people have fields that where they add information post conversion time with an integration, or sometimes they're creating their own lead score and they want to exclude it from this model. So we go into the no field, and then we would want to remove some of the fields from the lead scoring model. So I'll just give you an example. In this particular org, I created my own lead scoring, and I don't want that influencing how Einstein calculates his lead scoring, so I'm going to remove this total score custom field. And then once I remove that, then I can click next. And then we get a summary here that says, I've chosen the convert account, contact, and opportunity. I'm excluding this field. Einstein, once again, checks to make sure you have enough data to turn this on. And then we just click score leads. And then you're done. So in the background, Einstein is crunching some numbers, so it's going to take generally anywhere from 1 to 4 hours to get those first scores added back to your org. If it takes longer than 24 hours, then obviously you'd contact customer support, but it should be pretty quick. I've already done this for an org that I have in the background here. And so this is an org where the lead scoring model was successfully created. Einstein wrote scores back to your fields, and now that same list of leads, I've created a special list view for that called Einstein scored leads, and I've gone into the select field to display, and I moved over a score called Einstein score to the visible fields. So this is how you roll this out to the users who you want to show this to. So maybe you have a list view that you share with your leads or your sales reps, and then they can see this now. They should be able to see it in the column. And now when you sort, you sort by Einstein score rather than by create date. So these are the most important leads. These are the leads that are most likely to convert based on the patterns that Einstein has found in your previous data over the last 6 months. And if you hover over the score, you can see some additional information about why the score ended up being what it is. So you might see some top positives, top negatives for lower scores. And this is really useful for your sales reps to be able to sort by this. You can also, by default, when you drill into the detail page, you'll also get the Einstein card on the right-hand side, where it'll just display everything it'll display everything on the right-hand side, like in an expanded form. So a couple other things I want to talk about. For some of you who are not yet in Aloha, in Lightning, you can switch this over to you can switch this over to Salesforce Classic, and then you can add that same information to the leads page. So you can, here's the same view here, Einstein scored leads. You will be able to use some of these features like lead scoring in Classic, so you can still sort by Einstein score. However, you lose the ability to hover over the Einstein score and see it in the list view. So if you want to add the additional detail, you go into Setup here. You go into your lead homepage like you normally do, go into Page Layout, and then you want to edit that, and maybe you want to drag that full card for Einstein score onto the detail page so you can see it in Classic. Then you would just drag the Einstein score component down here, click Save. And now if I go into that same lead list view, I can click on the individual's name here, and now you'll be able to see it in the detail page, that same component. So it's basically a Lightning component which we've embedded inside of the Classic view, so you can still see all the top positives. So one other thing I want to go over is now that you have your sales reps have the ability to sort by lead score and also get some additional information on why the score ended up being what it is, you want to talk to your sales managers and your marketing managers about sort of an org level view of what's influencing the lead score model. So there's this dashboard called Einstein lead scoring. You can present this to your sales managers to take a look at, like, here's the overall conversion rate for my org. So I looked at everything, you know, like let's say over the last 3 quarters, I have a 7% conversion rate. When I look at my conversion rate for the top bucket, which is 80 leads scored between 81 and 100, I can see about a 3-time lift there, from 7% to 23%, and that's really reinforcing that I do want to go after those leads that are scored between 81 and 100 when I can't call everybody. The other thing we do is allow you to look at company level predictive factors. So you'll see that the most influential factor in determining whether or not a lead converts in this particular org with the data that is present in this org, and each Einstein lead scoring model is unique based on your own data. This particular org says the most important feature is that the detected department is finance and administration on that lead's title. So this is useful when you're trying to come up with an ideal customer profile to influence marketing campaigns where you're trying to target certain sets of users. So that also might be useful for your marketing managers as well. And then finally, down at the bottom, you'll also see like a bunch of buckets. So 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and you should see a hockey style like curve, that hockey stick style curve that shows you for the most important leads between the 80 and 100 bucket that you're getting a significant lift over the overall conversion rate in your org. So it's simple as that for setting up. Lead scoring is the easiest one to explain why it's useful, and go to your sales managers and say, let's turn this on. One additional thing is, once you turn on the feature, and this is true of every Einstein feature, that you won't be able to make it visible to your end users unless you go in to setup and go into permission sets. And there's a Sales Cloud Einstein permission set that's there. So it's Sales Cloud Einstein. We create a standard permission set where everything is enabled, so you want to take a look at this and just make sure that you go in and assign users to the Sales Cloud Einstein permission set. So as soon as you assign users, then we can then they can see the lead scoring feature which you enabled in their list views once you've added it there. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Mike Gerhold. Sorry.
All right, thanks everyone. So just talk through a few resources. Of course, there's a Trailhead module, Einstein, for you to go through. I highly suggest that. Trailhead is the easiest way for me to learn more about Salesforce and getting hands-on. And the Readiness Assessor, which they talked about, einsteinreadiness.salesforce.com. So we have a few minutes left, and I believe we want to jump into the Q&A next. Let me talk through the slide. So we'll do Q&A. If you're not already in the Salesforce Admins webinar group, bit.ly/admin webinar group. Make sure you pay attention to the capitals there. There's a few questions coming in. There will be a survey at the end. Please complete that. And then, of course, slide bit.ly/rollout Einstein. Let me just jump over into those questions. The first question came about locating the assessor in Classic.
Mike, do you want to take that question?
Sure. So the menu options are slightly different in Classic, so not all of the features are one-to-one between Classic and Lightning. So if you move over, if you don't have your users on Lightning, you can still change to Lightning just for the specific. For you as an admin, you can switch over to Lightning to access all of the menu options for Sales Cloud Einstein. Only the features that are supported in Classic are currently in the menu. So there's a slight difference in the menu options that are available. So if you're not seeing it on the menu in Classic, you can just switch to Lightning temporarily to access it from there. Or you can go to einsteinreadiness.salesforce.com, and you're not dependent on the setup menu that you're seeing.
Yeah, in Classic, you're only able to see Einstein opportunity scoring, lead scoring, and forecasting. Those are the three features that are available for setup in Classic. And so as Mike said, if you want to get to the assessor, go to Einstein Readiness, the Einstein Assessor link that he presented earlier.
I'll stay on the topic of the assessor. And if the assessor says you're not ready, does it prohibit you from enabling Einstein, or can you enable it anyway?
No, it's really there as a tool to help you be successful rolling out the features. So there's not in terms of turning on the features, there's no limitation there. It's really just guiding you in terms of meeting the minimum requirements. So for lead scoring, as an example, if you didn't have enough leads, we would still go to try to create a model and return scores. But without that minimum amount of data, we would say, the model's being built, but the scores wouldn't actually be delivered until you had sufficient data to meet that requirement. So there's no...
Yeah, and that's changing in the summer 18 release. We're adding in one additional step. It's called the quick assessor, where we're just making sure that you have at least the minimum amount of data needed to create a model for lead scoring. But I think all the other features you can enable without meeting the requirements.
And I know you talked a lot about leads and Einstein. Can you still use Einstein if your org does not use leads?
Yes. So there are lots of features in there. So lead scoring is one of them. Opportunity scoring is another one, and that doesn't use the leads per se as an input. It uses opportunities and opportunity history and a bunch of other objects from your CRM data in order to create an opportunity scoring model. Similarly with forecasting, there's a bunch of other inputs. So yeah, if you don't use leads to convert them to account contacts and opportunities, just don't turn on the Einstein lead scoring feature. But there's many other features in Sales Cloud Einstein that are super useful.
Cool. Well, it looks like we're right at time, so I'll just remind everybody to complete the survey at the end, the GoToWebinar survey. And of course, the slides are available at bit.ly/rollouteinstein. And in case you missed any part of it or you want to see it again, this webinar was recorded, and we'll send an email out to everyone with a link to the recording. It'll also be posted to our Salesforce admins YouTube channel. So with that, I want to thank everybody for taking 30 minutes out of your day. Thank you, Mike and Jason, for helping us be smarter with Einstein.